taking this on, we can speak on the to Lonnie and Sandy Phillips. They are founders of Survivors Empowered, an organization they started after their daughter Jessica Gowie was murdered in Aurora, Colorado theater massacre in 2012. Thank you, Lonnie and Sandy Phillips, for joining us. We'll come on to, I'm hoping that you heard what our previous guest was talking about just a second ago. But before that, Sandy, perhaps if I could ask you first what your thoughts are about today's events.
It's just another day in America, isn't it? We're in Buffalo currently, responding to the shooting at the Tops supermarket that has been deemed a hate crime. So we've been up here working with the survivors and the grassroots organizations here, and got the news today of what was happening back at home in San Antonio, outside of San Antonio, Texas, in Uvalde, which is a community that we're very familiar with. So now we're in the process of turning around and going back to Texas to help those families and relieve the grief, or can't relieve the grief, but at least be there to take some of it on ourselves. We say we hold hands and hearts, broken hearts, after these mass shootings, and to hear John Lott try to BS the American public. As Emma once said after Parkland, I call BS. And he's been debunked so many times that it's hard to believe that he even has any kind of relevance.
Indeed. Lonnie, if I can come to you now. When you heard John Lott, pro-gun advocate, and also many who subscribe to his view, say that schools should have, armed teachers and armed guards and so forth, what's your response to that kind of argument?
BS. I know I've been in the same program with Lott before. He spouts a lot of numbers, a lot of figures. None of them are true. He makes most of them up. He has absolutely no credibility with anybody that knows what's going on in America. It's simple. Easy access to guns in America is causing the problem. We have this same number of really troubled people or people that has mental problems as any other country. The difference is they can't get guns like they can here. Mr. Lott says criminals are going to always get guns. Well, that's really not true. Once you cut the supply of guns, it becomes harder to get. All the shooters lately, the mass shooters, have been able to walk in and legally buy an AR-15. It is wrong for an 18-year-old to be able to go in and buy an AR-15. We sued Lucky Gunner for selling 4,000 rounds of ammunition to the killer of our daughter. That was wrong. We didn't sue him for money. We just wanted them to stop doing that. I mean, it's an egregious, dangerous practice. This country has a problem with controlling their guns. Just recently, in 2022, number one death for our children under 19 is now guns. It used to be automobiles. Well, more of those children drive automobiles at the age of 18 than have guns, but more of them are dying from guns. What does that tell you? It's not working.
No. Sandy, your own experience of loss must be sharply and painfully exaggerated by what's happened today. And when you look at the scale and the number of deaths of Americans by Americans with guns, what do you think it's going to take to elicit change, or is it just always going to be this way? What can be done to tip the balance, to make a difference?
Well, I refuse to accept that it's always going to be this way. We are turning around and going back to San Antonio. This will be our 20th response to a public mass shooting since our daughter was killed 10 years ago. 10 years ago was our shooting in Aurora. It was Trayvon Martin's shooting. It was the Sikh temple hate shooting. It was Sandy Hook. In 10 years, nothing has been done at the national level. And until we are doing something at the national level, it won't matter what the states are doing, because what happens is the states with strong gun laws, like here in New York, they are surrounded by some very weak gun law states like Pennsylvania and Ohio. So those guns are trafficked across state lines. So we have a problem with trafficking guns, trafficking accessories. We have a problem with ghost guns, and we need to close all of that down. We need to go back to banning assault weapons, quite frankly. That needs to happen again. And I think the president actually called for that tonight, or at least suggested that tonight. But I won't give up hope. I will not give up hope. And I will fight to my last breath to make sure we're doing everything we can to alleviate the pain and suffering of these survivors that we have met along the way over the last 10 years. It needs to end, and we will do all we can to make that end. So I won't give up. We'll just continue to hold all electeds, not just the Republicans who vote against any gun law, but we're going to hold the Democrats accountable as well. Okay. We can't let them feign the learned helplessness. It doesn't work. So we need to hold them all accountable.
Sandy and Lonnie Phillips, do appreciate your time and your perspective. Thank you so much. Sandy and Lonnie Phillips, founders and survivors empowered.